Today we're going to talk about properties of logarithms, and at first they're going to seem kind of silly, kind of like when you were in Algebra 1 and you learned the distributive property, something like this. You did a bunch of problems where you just multiplied 2 times everything, and you thought this is kind of silly, but you did a whole worksheet of problems like that. But what it eventually helped you do was whenever you set an equation, set it equal to a number, you were able to solve. So today we're really not solving, we're just learning the properties that are going to help us solve the next couple of days. So the first property that we're going to talk about, and you do not need to worry about memorizing the names, the first one is called the power property. And it's probably the one that you'll use the most. It says this: log base b of u to the n power is the same thing as n log base b of u. So here's what really happens. If you have log of something, I'm just going to make this up. So you have log any base of something. This exponent can be brought to the front and multiplied times the log. And we're going to use that a lot whenever we solve. And I'm going to do lots of examples with actual numbers once we get going with this, but for now I'm just going to give you the properties. Okay, the second property is the product property. And the product property says this: if you have log base b of u plus log base b of v, that's equal to log base b of u times v. So let's say I had log base 3 of x plus log base 3 of y. See how these are both the same base value? Then I could combine them and make it 1 base 3x times y. And I think you'll see a little later as we get going why addition and multiplication are tied together. I'll try to tie that together for you. Okay, number 3 is the quotient property. And the quotient property says this: this time if you have log base b of u and you're subtracting log base b of v, that is log base b of u divided by v. So it looks very similar to the product property. Notice on the product property we're adding, so we end up multiplying these numbers. But on the quotient property we're subtracting, so we end up dividing these numbers. And that's because they're so closely tied with exponents. If you think about exponents, if I had like x squared times x to the 5th, I would add those numbers. But if I'm dividing, I actually subtract those numbers. So see how dividing and subtract go together. All right, the fourth property is this one, the change of base. The change of base was really important back before there were calculators that could turn everything into the right kind of base. But the change of base says this: if you have log base any number of u, you can turn that into the common log by doing the common log of this number over the common log of this number. So now we have calculators. In fact, the graphing calculator that you're using, you can type in log and it has a little square here, and you can put whatever number you want in. But if you're using the little TI-30, you don't have that button. So if it looks something like this, you can change it into one where you can just use the common log key. And I'll explain that as we go through the lesson. In fact, I think I'll actually do it right here. Let me grab my graphing calculator. So I'll show you with two real examples here. Let's just do something simple like log base 3 of 5. So on the calculator, if you have a graphing calculator, you can actually type this straight in your calculator by pushing math and then arrowing down to log base. And then you can put 3 of 5 equals. So log base 3 of 5 is 1.4649. If I type in the calculator just a normal log of 5 over a normal log of 3, and what I mean by normal log, the common log, so if I just use the regular log key, which on the graphing calculator is down there by the 7, so if I do log 5 divide by log 3, I get the same decimal. On this calculator, the TI-30, you're not able to change the base. So you can't actually type it in straight like this on the TI-30. You're going to have to take every problem like this and turn it into one like this. So let me show you how you use that. The log button on this calculator is right here below the second key. So I'm going to hit log 5 divide by log 3. And I get the same decimal.